All right, welcome to episode 28 of the Rainier Strength Pod. Today, Nathan Redwing has been summoned to the podcast. Nathan is a raw competitor with an 832 squat, 562 bench, and 810 deadlift. That adds up to a 2204 total. Nebraska's own, also a professional wrestler, Nathan Redwing, and also, many people might not know this. This might be a little bit of inside baseball here, but also owner of a 2007 Toyota Yaris, the finest automobile in existence. Nathan, how are you doing, my man?
Doing good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, dude. I'm doing great, bro. So what I want to hop into first, man, is the pro wrestling aspect, right? Super interesting. I love wrestling, have always loved wrestling. How did you get into pro wrestling in the first place?
Well, I've been a fan my whole life. Like my dad and my grandma watched when we were growing up. So as long as I can remember, I've watched wrestling. And then I met a guy I had a teammate in college I played football with, Matt Carroll. He actually went to 3XW to start training while he was still playing football at Peru State. And our coach found out about it and told me to pull a scholarship if he didn't quit. So he quit. And then like when we were both done playing, we were kind of, just lifting in the school gym and stuff. And he, he said, dude, 3XW is holding this camp for like rookies with like no experience. We should go. Like, all right, cool. Let's do it, man. It's like we would go, like he kind of knew how to bump and stuff like that. So we'd go to the crash pads for the track team and shit in the gym, practice bumping and shit. Well, then, so I followed 3XW on social media and shit, and they had Perry Saturn was the one running the camp. So like a guy I watched growing up or whatever, and it was kind of like he had kind of disappeared for a while, got into some troubles, and then he was kind of making a comeback. Booked at 3XW in Grinnell, Iowa, doing this little camp or whatever. So we we went to that, and so I was a defensive lineman at the time. I was probably, I don't know, 310 pounds or something like that. Just got done playing college football. I was in the best shape of my life. Matt, he was an offensive lineman. He's like 6'3", and he was at least 320, 330 or something like that or whatever. So we were pretty big dudes, especially for beginners going to like some kind of fantasy camp or deal. So me and him went in, and Perry Satter was kind of showing us the basics or whatever. That's basically where I got started wrestling from there. So like, since I kind of knew how to bump or whatever on the pads, me and him being football players, we weren't afraid. And so we'd actually hit each other with shit. And so that's kind of what started it. Then there was other camps and stuff like that I met a couple other guys that I started going to, like training before basically what they wanted was guys to show up and set up the ring, get some ring time. And so then that's how I got started, basically started doing that after that. My buddy Matt fell off. He never kept doing it, but I fell in love right away and basically been doing it ever since.
Now, how old were you when you first started, when you first stepped in a ring?
I would have been 23 years old, I think, is when I first started. Yeah, 23 or 24 years old when I first got into a ring for the first time.
Now, was that something that was on your radar as like a potentiality for you, or was it just at the time football was the thing and you were kind of just focused on that and wrestling just happened to come over here and you just took the opportunity?
Well, football being over, I definitely wasn't going pro anywhere, and I wasn't going to go Canada or anything like that. It was just, I was done with football. I signed up and done a powerlifting meet where I I cut a bunch of weight I cut down to like 275 for the meet. Just I was trying to get, like, I was 330 playing football, so I was trying to get some of that fluff off of me. And I cut down to 275. I was back up to like 305, 310 or whatever. And then the camp kind of fell in my lap. I never ever thought I could be a professional wrestler. Like, I always thought you had to know somebody that could get you into the business and shit like that. I didn't know you could just pay money and become a professional wrestler. That was all kind of new. It's like, if that's like 2013 or so, then like that's right when, I don't know how to say it, like indie wrestling blew up with people just paying anyone could be into it, and things like that. So it's kind of right when that was really starting. And so like growing up my whole life, no one ever told me that when I'd say like, "Well, what do you want to be when you get older?" "Well, I want to be a professional wrestler," and everyone would tell me how stupid I was and how dumb I was and things like that. So like, I just assumed it was never going to happen. And then that camp fell in my lap, and Perry Saturn showed me how to do a headlock and a shoulder tackle. It started from there, never looked back.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, in respect to like obviously me especially, you are a big guy. So, especially being in that business as a big guy, there's a lot to take advantage of there. And you found powerlifting. Technically, we covered this off camera, but you had a meet in high school, a couple here and there that just didn't get logged on open powerlifting here. It happens. So would you say that you found powerlifting as far as like that real like higher end competitive level after pro wrestling, or were you already kind of like real just fucking farm strong while you were already in college and getting into wrestling?
So whether it was Peru State, which is a small NAI school in Nebraska, or I grew up in Valley, like went through high school and shit in Valley, Nebraska, another small town. I was always the strongest guy. And then it's like in high school, I think they did a meet my sophomore year, like they had a team or whatever. I didn't join it until my junior year. So I did the meet my junior year, my senior year. And so then what it was for me is like I always enjoyed powerlifting better, like the actual style of training for powerlifting better than bodybuilding or anything, any other type of lift you could think of. So what it was for me is powerlifting gave me the base of strength, and then it gave me like a direction to take my training while being a professional wrestler after football and stuff like that. So like I always had the powerlifting training, as my main thing to keep me in shape for wrestling, I guess, lifting wise. I mean, the training was obviously a little different because while you're wrestling, it's really hard on your body and it's really rough. So like I wasn't pushing powerlifting like I should. It's like I would guess like you've heard like Wendler's 531, obviously, right?
Yep.
That's basically what I ran for my main movements all while wrestling or whatever. And then like a couple 16 or 1700-pound totals and stuff like that. Like I wasn't great at it or anything like that, but like for the local meets I did, I had the biggest totals there. Uh, then like I can't remember, it would have been during the COVID years, like right when COVID was first starting to shut stuff down. I think USAPL did a Raw Nationals or whatever, and I think the super heavyweight totals were in the 1900s, and I was like, "Well, I'm at like 18 something. I'm getting close or whatever." It's like, "Well, I can't. I just had a baby. Like, I can't do wrestling and powerlifting." And so I was like, "Well, I'll quit wrestling for now or whatever and just focus on powerlifting." And that's kind of it's like while I was powerlifting and lifting weights for my whole life, basically, I didn't focus in and really push powerlifting until probably like I'd say 2021 is when I really started to focus purely on powerlifting and like, as a professional wrestler, you're basically going out and getting in your underwear in front of people every weekend, right? So like, even though I'm a big guy, you know, I, I, I didn't want to look like a slob out there. I still wanted to look decent. So I always kept my weight in check and things like that. And then, like I said, about 2021, I kind of said, fuck it and quit wrestling. You never really quit wrestling. I just quit taking bookings for a little while, and I focused on powerlifting. I got my weight started climbing pretty fast. I got up to 330 pretty quickly, and then that's when my numbers started taking off too. And then I started becoming a lot more competitive. As far as like where I was total wise, I was getting closer to like the top, top of the list or whatever. As far as like being competitive at the bigger, like at a nationals meet or something like that for USAPL. So that's kind of now I'm at like 360 pounds and total 1,000 kilograms. Like that's kind of how it got. Like I said, always lifting, wrestling. I lifted through wrestling, obviously, to stay in shape, and then 2021 is when I really started focusing purely on powerlifting.
And growing up, we all have our favorite wrestlers, favorite athletes. So growing up, who is your favorite wrestler? Who's the guy that you looked at, or a couple guys that you looked at where you were like, oh my gosh, like this is so sick. Like who hooked you?
My ultimate, the number one, my number one wrestler of all time is Sting, and like even like the Crow Sting, the Black and White, Wolfpack Sting. Although those are all great, I love Sting. No matter everything Sting has done, I love. But like that 80s and early 90s surfer Sting, that was it for me, man. The blonde flat top and the face paint. I was a little Stinger through and through my whole life. I always loved Sting. And then Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. Those guys are also obviously, my favorites. Just that's the kind, to me, when I think of professional wrestlers, I think guys like Hawk and Animal, Sting, big guys like that. It's kind of what I've like, the wrestling that I grew up on or whatever. It's the wrestling that I like. Those are kind of my favorites growing up.
Yeah. So you grew up on like WCW Nitro, like right in the middle of the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah, because so like my mom and dad got divorced when I was like 5 years old. My dad moved in with his mother, so I'd get to go to grandma's house every weekend to see my dad. And grandma had cable. Mom didn't have cable, so like I kind of missed Monday Night Raws and all that stuff like that. And then I'd get like for WWF at the time, I'd get the Saturday morning hour-long syndicated show or whatever they put out. But then like Friday nights and Saturday nights, they had WCW had actual wrestling shows on or whatever on TBS and TNT. So that's basically what I watched was all that. And my dad, he worked swing shift, and so he'd get off work at 11 o'clock on Monday. Well, back in the late 90s, WCW would run Monday Night Nitro at the regular time, like 8 or 7 at start, and then they'd do a replay at 11. So my dad would get to watch Nitro. So I was basically a WCW guy through and through all growing up.
Yeah, dude, that's that's fucking awesome, dude. That was a hell of a time too, during the Monday Night Wars. It was like they really had to compete for your attention, and now with like in the modern era with like TKO taking over WWE and whatnot, it's gone in a noticeably different direction, especially, a lot of people were bitching through the Attitude Era, through the Ruthless Aggression Era. But it's like when you look back on that early 2000s on the Ruthless Aggression Era, like WrestleMania 20, when you had Benoit and Guerrero hug, and it was like, and you had people like Kevin Nash saying, "Oh, the vanilla midgets, like it's bad." But like, I mean, now you look back at those times and you're like, "Oh my god, like this was gold. Like this was."
Oh yeah.
Dude, like those early 2000s years for pro wrestling was fucking money, dude. It was so good.
So that would have been when I was in high school, and at that time, I got my mom and they were like boyfriend and girlfriend for like 28 or 30 years or something like that before they finally got married a few years ago. But like he's the guy I always call my stepdad or whatever. He had gotten a different job. Like when my mom and him first got together, he was working at a feedlot. He was getting paid like $330 a week take home salary, and like would work like 70 hours a week or whatever. It was brutal. So like that's why we didn't have cable. Well, the feedlot was shutting down, and he had gotten a different job. He still works at the place he started back in the 2000s or whatever. So he's been there 20. I don't know if it's 25 years yet or not, but it's pretty close. But like we had some expendable money, so we finally got cable. So like all through from like the 2000 2004 when I was in high school, we actually got cable. And we got to watch the Monday Night Wars and shit like that. And it's like that's when I really got to watch every single week. I got to watch Monday Night Raw and things like that. It was in the early 2000s. So like I love all that ruthless aggression stuff too, man. Like Batista, John Cena, all that shit like that. All those guys they're great too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like during the 2010s, it was like kind of in a weird kind of like transitional phase, and like you could tell like Cena was getting older, and like you had some people that looked maybe promising, like Ryback was coming in. It was like maybe this guy can kind of be a little bit of a better Goldberg maybe, but then it was like, he fell off, and it was like now they're having to bring back a lot of the older guys just to like honestly like carry the product because they're having a hard time, because it's hard to create those type of stars that are so alluring that they can break through to the mainstream, right? Those people like Cena and Hogan and Stone Cold and The Rock. It's like those guys just don't come often, they're really hard to come by, dude.
Right.
But something else I'm super curious about is you're 39 years old. Is that correct?
Yep.
So at 39, you are wrestling and powerlifting at a high level. You're competing in the USAPL. Most recent meet was in January of this year, 26, and you totaled 2204. And you're working tonight. You have a match tonight, April 25th. So how in the hell are you recovering from doing both of these at the same time?
All right. So when I was going to focus pure on powerlifting and I quit taking bookings, whatever, I slowed down my bookings a lot anyway, because my oldest kid was born in 2019. And when my wife was pregnant with her, I really slowed down my bookings after she was born. I only took stuff that was local or like within an hour or two from my house or whatever. So I quit wrestling, and then one of the guys that trained me, who owned the local promotion, Jason Strife, he ended up passing away, and like right at the end of 2022, and it's when I wasn't wrestling or whatever, and he had just got done training a whole group of guys that came in. There's a whole bunch, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people that like actually had promised to stick around and actually do something and like keep the company going. So when he passed away, he had left the company to like 5 people. And then they were finally going to have a show back. It would be the first show back after he passed away. And the guy that was the champion wasn't going to be able to make it. And so they had a main event with this other guy and Mike Bennett from AEW. He was going to come be in that first main event, and TV stuff happens. Anytime in the Indies, when you got a guy that's signed and on national television, at any time something can come up and those guys just ain't going to be able to make your indie show. It's not a big deal. Mike Bennett's a great dude, one of the best dudes on the planet. He couldn't make it. So then like, they're like, hey, you want to come back and do one match, Redwing? Just we need someone in the main event that's legitimate, someone that's been at Magnum, for a long time. We just need to come do this one match. It's like, all right, fine. I'll come back and I'll do one match. And then I've done basically every Magnum show since then. So, so like, and during that time, I was working at the same company my stepdad works for. I got like 17 years total there. And like I started in 2005 after high school. I got like 17 years total there. I was a supervisor at one time, quit for a few years, blah, blah, whatever. I come back and I was heavy equipment operator for him all during this time. And then I started wrestling for Magnum again. Then so I had the kid at home. I had a second kid on the way. I started wrestling just locally again. I'm still trying to do the powerlifting thing. So like, as far as recovery goes, I don't think I ever do recover until like before the meet. I take the whole week off before. I don't do anything. So I try to get as much sleep as possible, because during that whole time, when I had the job running heavy equipment, trying to powerlift and wrestle, I had to wake up at like 3:15 in the morning, 3 days a week to get my training in, because that was the only time. Because if you're working 10 to 12 hours a day, you got kids. I don't want my kids to have to sacrifice time with me so I can train for powerlifting. Like, I'm gone the Saturday night when I have a show. That's once a month, and they complain and yell at me every time, and I feel really bad every time I go, but I just can't quit it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like as far as recovery goes, I don't have time to do any I don't do any cold plunges. I can't go get any physical therapy. I can't go get any massages, nothing like that. So recovery really falls to me trying to get the best quality sleep I can, because I'm not going to get a lot of sleep. And then I eat. I'm in a calorie surplus, I'm guessing 99% of the time. So I got to make sure I'm eating and trying to sleep as much as I can and try to keep stress levels down. So like, my biggest total, the 1,000-kilogram total, that came when I was 3 days a week. I was getting up at 3:15. Then on the weekends, I train Saturday and Sunday. I get to sleep in till 6 o'clock and get my training in before the kids woke up and things like that. So as far as recovery goes, I am not the guy to talk to about recovery, because I just don't think I ever recover, to be honest with you.
Yeah, dude. That's fucking awesome. And you brought up something interesting. You brought up the cold plunge, which if people follow you on Instagram and look at your story, they'll see a common theme of you training in the extreme fucking cold. And for me, I know like when I'm upstairs and I'm training in the garage, it's winter and it's cold, I'm kind of a pussy. So I have like 3 different heaters on. Like I'm trying to get it warm. It's still pretty fucking cold, but I'm trying to get it warm out there. So tell me about like how that experience is. What is the coldest temperature you've trained in? And is this an environment that you actually enjoy?
I actually enjoy the cold more than I like because I get both extreme. In Nebraska, you get all 4 seasons for sure, but I get both extreme temperatures in my shop for my gym or whatever. So like the coldest thermometer reading in the gym I think ever was like 20 degrees. Like it doesn't ever quite get below 20 degrees. Like that would be the coldest. Like in the summertime, it'll get up in the 90s or whatever in there too, because the way that my shop's set up is I bought my grandpa's little acreage or whatever like eight years ago, and he's got a shop that when he bought this place, it was 1980, and he had a trucking business, and the shop that he had in Elkhorn, Nebraska burnt down. And so when he built this new shop out here, it was to continue his trucking business. So he's got like the main shop area that you can pull like 3 semis with trailers will all fit inside this main shop. But then like back in the corner is the like the parts room, I guess you call it. It's got built-in shelves and shit like that. Got a bunch of old truck parts and old tractor parts and shit like that on it. So like that's where I put, because like my grandpa's kind of a hoarder. Basically, I think my whole family's kind of hoarders. So you never threw anything away, and that come from when like how he grew up. His family was poor and farmers, and his parents lived through the Great Depression and things like that. It's like him and his brother, they've never thrown anything away in their lives, which it's fine. There's a lot of useful shit out in the shop, but so the only place that I found that I could get cleared out enough to like put my rack in and my barbell, my weights and shit like that was in that little side parts room. Well, that's not insulated. The rest of the shop's insulated. It's like it's pure the steel siding straight to the outside on that little area. So that's why it's so cold in there when I first get in there, in the wintertime, and then it's that hot. I got a big fan in there, but the thing that the lifesaver I got is I got one of those big like it's a Nevco heater, like the tornado push heaters. It runs off diesel fuel. I run that in there, and I run that until I have trouble breathing, and then I got to shut that off. And then, but it usually gets up, I don't know, 40 degrees or so in there before I got to shut it off. So it ain't too bad. I like training in the cold more than I do being super hot. So
That's awesome, dude. And it's like, it's one of those like Rocky situations when he's out in the snow fucking doing lunges with the fucking lumber, dude. It's awesome, man. I've only been to Nebraska once, and I only stayed for a night. I was in Lincoln because I was on the way to Iowa, and I was driving. So I only stayed there for a night. I don't really remember anything. I just remembered like a lot of flat, just like driving in the cornfields and stuff like that. Were you born and raised in Nebraska?
born and raised in Nebraska, was born in Fremont, and then moved around a bunch when I was younger. Like then my parents got divorced and stuff like that. We hopped around a little bit and then finally settled in Valley, Nebraska. And Valley, Nebraska don't even have any hills or nothing. That's why it's called Valley. It ain't called Mountaintop, Nebraska. It's called Mountaintop, Nebraska. It's called Valley, Nebraska. So it's always been flat, born and raised, triple landlocked life is what I live, man.
That's awesome, dude. And you're on a farm, dude. It doesn't get any better than that, man. That's fucking sick. So,
Yeah.
so some things that I hear often is a lot of men talking about when they have children, like their personality changes, their priorities shift, like a lot of that happens. When your first child was born, did you notice a lot of that, like your personality shift, like your commitment to certain things maybe like wasn't there because you're a dad now? Like, did you notice that as a father, kind of like becoming a new man essentially?
100%. Priorities change a lot in the sense that like stuff that I might have thought was important before is no longer important. Or like if you were to like put it on a list, if you got something like let's just say powerlifting is number one, wrestling's number two, all that other stuff like that. All that stuff drops immediately when you have a child. Child's number one, no matter what. That's how I feel anyway. And so the new man part of it, I would I would say it's you broaden your thinking a little bit and about how you see the world. So like before, always been a big guy, never really felt like unsafe anywhere, especially in small town Nebraska. So it's pretty safe out here where we live or whatever. But like now that I have a couple kids, like you start noticing certain things, you start looking out and looking harder for certain things. Because that's kind of like the biggest thing is the awareness of everything around me increased greatly. Not just what's happening, what's going on, but like what could possibly happen, what could go on with my children. It's like that's a big thing that I worry about. Like it's kind of like I've always felt like I was like a more like a not really a worldly guy to begin with. Like I didn't really care about what was going on outside of my little bubble, and like how I voted politically and all that stuff I didn't even hardly vote all my life basically. I just didn't think it really affected me that much. And then like having a couple kids now, uh and being married to my wife, things like that, like it makes me start thinking broader and like more than just outside my bubble. It makes me worry about how I want to raise my children so they can go out into this world and succeed and live and have, great happy life or whatever. It's like that's kind of the biggest changes for me. I think what really stuck out like, if I had to pinpoint, like, one thing that really changed how I thought about things was, like, Jim Wendler said it on a podcast one time, and he heard it from a documentary about a band he was watching where, like, "If you wanna change the world, start by raising good kids." It's like, that's kinda how I approach parenting, I would say, is, like, raising my kids so that they can be better in this world than maybe me and my wife were growing up or maybe our parents were and things like that. That's kinda like the shift that happened for me once I had children.
Yeah, and that's, that is the world that they inherit, right? So it's like you want to try to, your kind of, your perception kind of broadens because they're going to grow up in this world. So you're like, how can I, at least try to mitigate what I can around me to make sure that I optimize their childhood in the world that they're essentially going to grow up in. Um, but with that being said, too, something else I was really interested in is these massive squats. Like you got an 832 raw squat. That is raw, not in wraps. That is raw in sleeves. So when you're handling massive weights like this, and when you're in the pro wrestling business taking all these fucking bumps and everything, high injury risk is a thing, right? Have you ever had any like severe injuries that you've had to recover from, any like tears, or is it mainly just like little strains here and there? Or
I've never had, like, a major injury. I've been pretty lucky there. I'm always beat up and sore somewhere. Like, right now, my elbows hurt. My elbows always hurt, but, like, the one elbow's hurting a lot more than normal or whatever. Lower body, I've been pretty lucky as far as, like, tendons and muscles and things like that. Uh, the only bad thing I've had happen really is, like, it's not even that bad. It got me out of flats and into heeled shoes when I squat. I got a few cows out here, and we brought them in. They're all getting ready to calve pretty close together, and so we brought them in from the pasture so they could be closer, so I could watch them a little better. And this cow had a calf, and she ended up getting mastitis really bad because it rained a shit pile as soon as we brought them in. It's like she was dragging, and she was an older cow, so her udder's dragging pretty low, and she got it dragging through the mud and shit like that. So like she got mastitis really bad. Well, like she had her calf, and her calf, you know, I don't know about you, whether you're a newborn baby or not, but if the nipple I'm going to go drink out of and eat off of is full of shit, I ain't going to go eat and drink off it. So the calf wasn't sucking like it should. So I put her in the head chute. My little brother got her caught, put her in the head chute, and I was actually milking a beef cow, like like what a dairy cow, just to get some colostrum. And she ended up having real bad mastitis. We ended up losing the calf. It was a pretty bad deal. But what happened was I had muck boots. You know what those are?
no.
Like they're like chore boots, basically. They're big, thick rubber boots that are insulated and stuff. They're meant for like wearing in the winter time so you don't get your feet all wet and they keep your feet warm. Well, like my feet are wide. They're not so long, they're wide. So like I have to wear a 14 shoe because my feet are so wide, even though lengthwise they fit in a 13. So I got a 14 muck boot on, and I was down on one knee trying to get this uh, cow milked and figure out what was going on with her. I was down there for so long, my ankle sitting in my boot was sitting at a weird way for so long. When I got up, it just, I don't know, something shifted in there or what, but all of a sudden I couldn't flex my foot up anymore. It was just stuck. It was kind of locked in. I went and got x-rays and stuff, and the doctor just like, well, did you roll your ankle a lot? I'm like, well, yeah, I played sports and whatever my whole life. I've always rolled my ankles. Just what it like doesn't hurt bad when I roll them. It just like, oh, rolled my ankle, and I go back. Goes, okay, well, everything else looks fine in there. Okay, whatever. And I had lost a lot of mobility in that ankle just from milking a fucking cow. So like the flats, I couldn't squat in them no more because my right heel would come up every time. So then I switched over to the heels, and that kind of fixed that problem. But like, yeah, as far as like some major injuries, so yeah, I've been pretty lucky in wrestling too. I don't get dinged in the head very often. Uh, so you know what a taker dive is, right?
Yeah.
I do that every now and then, right? And so I only do it in like big multi-man matches and shit like that. So there's like 8 guys out there to catch me, right? So I do the big taker dive and I land on them. We all go down and I go to cushion myself. And when my hands hit the ground, all 8 guys come with me and they just kept going until both my hands bent back and I ended up getting a spiral fracture in my hand. I'm pretty sure I broke my right hand too, but I was still working. I was not gonna be able to operate heavy equipment with 2 casts on, but with 1, I think I could get it done. So I just told the doctor about my one hand and took the x-ray and had to wear a cast with her for 8 weeks. That's That's pretty much my only major injuries.
Damn.
There's one time, this guy named, KLD, Kevin Lee Davidson, he's a big boy, dude's 400 pounder. Uh, uh, when I picked him up to do my finisher, my knee popped and was pretty sore for a little while, and after that, it kinda went away and it was fine. So, other than that, I don't really have any major injuries. I've been pretty lucky, I think.
Dude, yeah. If I saw a take or dive from you, if I heard that and I'm outside, we're going home right after that. It's dude, that's it. Dude, we're going home, dude. That's fuck whatever heat or shine we have planned. It doesn't there's no more double downs, there's nothing. We're going home after that, dude. Like,
Right, there's nothing else to do.
yeah,
What else are we gonna do, you know?
So you're out there on the farm, man. Are you getting like your own milk, your own eggs, your own meat, like all that kind of stuff? Is that you?
No, I don't have a dairy cow or nothing like that, but we
Okay.
got some chickens, so we do get our own eggs, and then well, I've only got like it's 16 acres total out here, and there's only about I'd say 4 or 5, maybe 6 acres of pasture, and then we split off another 2 or 3 acres for like a little hayfield or whatever. So that's all we have for like raising animals. Like the most we can do if we have a decent year for rain is about 5 cows out on the pasture. And then we got to feed them through the wintertime with hay and things like that. So like what we trying to do, and I don't want to say inherited because I kind of when I bought the property it was as is because no one else wanted to deal with anything else in here. So I bought the property as is, and I had 5 cows left over from my grandpa that he had. I don't know, maybe 60 head of cows that he was running or whatever, and he ended up getting sick, and he sold those out. Was just gonna mess around with like his best cows at home or whatever. And so we had those 5 cows to start out with, and so then we'd rent a bull, have the calves, raise the calves up, fatten them up, and then we'd butcher them, take a half of beef for ourselves for the year, and then half a beef for my brother, half a beef for my stepfather, and then sell the rest to everybody. So that's kind of the operation we got going out here.
Dang, dude,
We
that's
messed up though. Yeah, we messed up though. The cows started getting older and we sold them, and then prices were getting a little high. We're like, we'll wait a little bit. We still got the calves or whatever. We can wait a little bit and maybe buy a bred cow back or cow calf pair or something like that. And then when we said that, prices never come back down, and now they are ridiculous. We can't afford to buy any cow calf pairs, nothing like that. So we basically got 2 cows. We got 1 bull, and then we got 3 bull calves right now, about to be steers after this weekend. So
damn, dude, that's so neat. Like I'm always like fascinated with that, like, small town, like all that kind of atmosphere, the farming and stuff. It's so cool, dude. Especially when you're getting like like you said, like meat and stuff like that, like straight from the source versus like whatever the fuck it's pumped with when you get it from fucking Kroger. And it's like, what the fuck? You're cooking it and it's like 10 pounds of water. And you're like, God damn it, dude,
yeah,
I paid for this. And it's fucking, most of it is just water. So I'm mad envious of the farm life, dude. That's fucking sick. And so for your powerlifting, man, how often are you training a week? Are you on a 3-day split, 4-day split? And what does your split look like throughout the week?
I do 5 days a week now. I ended up taking a whole nother day to do like my back biceps and form because like I never trained biceps really. And I always hated training biceps. And I think it's subconsciously. So like when I was very little, my dad lived in Fremont, and the YMCA had this deal where like you could start taking weight training classes at 10 years old, and then if you take 3 classes, do a test, you get your yellow card, and you go in the big weight room with you go to the big weight room. It's like that was my goal when I was little. So right away, as soon as I can get the 3 classes done, I got my yellow card. I can go in the big weight room with my dad at the Fremont YMCA, and so like I go in there and like when I was young, like I did more bench press sessions from like the age of 10 to like 14 than most people probably ever do in their lives. All I want to do is bench press. It's all I cared about. But so I think I hated training biceps so bad because I remember my dad had all the bodybuilding magazines, like every Muscle and Fitness and Flex and Muscular Development, all those. Like I've read about all that stuff all my life, blah blah blah. But I went in there with my dad, and they were going to train legs. I was like, oh, cool. I'm going to see like how he trains legs. I didn't think he had a big upper body and scrawny, skinny little legs. Just I thought that's just how he's built because he's Native American. But no, it was that way because his leg day consisted of he'd do leg press, superset with alternating dumbbell curls, and then when they were done with that, they'd move right on to arms. heavy biceps and
Hell
triceps.
yeah.
Yeah, so like he did leg press. You gotta keep them legs strong. You never know when he's gonna have to fucking sprint at his fucking beer and pretzel softball league. You- yeah. So make sure you do your leg press. And then I've never liked training biceps ever. So then, like I said, I switched as I started getting bigger. My benches started getting bigger, like my forearms and my elbows. I just had a lot of constant pain in them. And I just started reading and doing research about elbow pain and things like that. And started realizing well, I don't train biceps or forearms or do nothing like that. Just never have. And so I started really trying to focus on getting functional arms, that worked, like
Yeah.
biceps, forearms, everything that worked, not just triceps. And so I took all my rowing and back work out of my everyday work and put it on a separate day with biceps and forearms. So because waking up at 3:15 in the morning, you got kids and stuff like that. I might wake up and I might get out there on time and I might get all my lifts in, but more often than not, or I shouldn't say that, but quite often, all the back and biceps or forearm stuff I would do at the end of the workout, just I wouldn't have time. I had to go to work. There was nothing I could do. That's why I switched to 5 days. Other than that, for the last 2 years now, I've been running kind of my own version of trigger warning conjugate. Uh, Anthony Oliveris, when it was him and Dave Hoff on the Table Talk podcast, and they kind of laid out their training. Then he had his own single podcast and laid out his training. I started thinking, because I'm a big West Side Barbell fan, and I love conjugate training, love bands and chains, love all that stuff or whatever. But for me personally, without being able to recover, doing a traditional conjugate style would be like West Side book and method style. I really didn't recover from that, but being able to take the trigger warning stuff. So I got one squat day, one deadlift day instead of like a max effort lower and or speed lower day. So since I can do that, I can focus on and have just a pure squat and leg day, basically almost like in a power building style, I'd call it, I guess. And then a separate deadlift day that gives me enough time to actually recover from my squats. So when it's time to squat again, I actually feel like I can squat again. So the way my split goes now is Tuesday will be squat day. Wednesday is my back bicep forearm day. Thursday is my heavy bench day. Saturday, I'll do deadlifts. And then Sunday's the speed bench or secondary bench day.
Okay.
That's my split now.
And I think too, your dad might have, or your dad's program for legs might have been copied by Scott Steiner. I think that now that you say that, I'm thinking, dude, maybe they had the same program for legs, dude.
Well, he was a big Steiner Brothers fan. I mean, he loved Big Papa Pump. He loved the Steiner Brothers. So, I mean, he could have just straight up stolen it. You never know.
Yeah, dude. And fucking shout out to Anthony Oliveira, of course, Trigger Warning Conjugate. He has him and Roman Mustachio, every Sunday, the Tales from the Warm-Up Room, man. You can learn everything. I mean, everything you need to know is on that podcast. Also,
I've listened to every episode twice. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I've listened to every episode they've had out twice already. So
good man. Me too. It's usually when I'm outside poisoning the yard or whatever, doing some working on the car. It's like they come around just when they know I need something to listen to while I'm doing something. But they're both the best. And a lot of people don't know, or they think that the conjugate stuff or the West Side stuff is just for the equipped guys. They don't understand. A lot of people don't understand the utility in conjugate or modifying conjugate, like you said, like a trigger warning type of system, especially for people like you that are athletes outside of the sport of powerlifting as well. So with that being said, do you utilize any overload tools, let's say a slingshot or briefs or anything like that, or is all your training pretty much 100% raw?
It's pretty much 100% raw. Now I have a slingshot. I bought it. Oh boy, I bought it pretty soon, right when they first came out, right when Mark Bell and all those guys, when that first came out, I bought it. And me and my brother used it quite a lot. We were on the road together, just me and him on a 2-man crew running a concrete crusher for a few years. It's we used that out on the road a lot. We both really liked the slingshot. And then kind of I feel like I quit using it so much because it's kind of a pain in the ass for me to get on. It got smaller and I got bigger. I think the size I got's too small, so I just haven't used it. But I bought one for my wife. She's done a couple meets. I've used slingshot. I like things like that. I just don't have anything else. Like in my mind, if I'm going to do a raw meet, if I'm training raw for a raw meet, I need it to be as specific to raw as possible. I'm not saying that like in the future, I wouldn't want to like throw on a bench shirt and maybe see what I could do in gear for a bench shirt or for a bench or whatever. That's bench. A shirted bench is like really is the only thing that interests me right now. I would say, uh, you know, like I said, I've been lucky with injuries and things like that. I really haven't had no reason in my mind to like throw on a pair of briefs or a single ply suit or something like that to kind of protect myself, maybe.
Yeah.
And then just as far as like hitting the bigger numbers in equipment, I just I feel like you would need a group of guys to help you a lot, at least spot you and things like that. Like, I mean, I got a power rack or whatever, but I feel like to have someone who knows how to use the equipment to help me would be where I would start before I'd even try to put on the equipment. I just working out in my shop. There's no one in there that knows how to like my shop cat Lily. She has no idea how to bench a shirt. So
Yeah.
yeah. So most of my training is pretty much raw.
Yeah.
100%. I would say it's 100% raw. It has been for at least a year now.
Yeah. And there is in Nebraska, OSO Powerlifting, Iron Plains, Tim out there is a equipped guy. He's fucking awesome. He's doing Anthony's meet next month in May. I think it's May 23rd, 25th, something like that. But the tail end of May, he'll be doing his first multiply meet. But he's a equipped guy out there in Nebraska. He had
I know Tim. I've met him before.
very kind words to say about you. Absolute
Yeah.
savage. So that's pretty cool as well, man. So with these numbers, dude, I mean, these are big numbers. So do you have a goal as far as a single number that you want to hit on one of these lifts? Is it a dot? Is it a total? Like, is there an overall goal here? You're just like, I'm getting fucking stronger. Is it titles? What is the superseding goal here?
So, like I said, when I first started seeing like I could be competitive at the national level for the USAPL or whatever, leading up to that for the longest time, I didn't think I was anywhere close to it, which is why I'd only do like the local meets in Orchard, Nebraska, the AAU Federation stuff and things like that. And then finding out I could be competitive, and then I won the first Raw Nationals I went into. Uh I feel like I totaled like 1945 maybe or something like that. If you got open power enough, you'd be able to tell me or whatever, but 19 something, maybe 1917. I don't even
1973?
remember. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah.
Yep.
So like uh when I hit that at the time, I thought, well, goddamn, that's about all I can get. And then like the next goal obviously would have been like 2000. And then I finally hit that. And I was like, well, shit, I better keep going now. Then once I hit 2000, the next goal would have been like 2050 or whatever, 2100. Then I kind of got rid of like picking a number that I want to hit, like a big goal or whatever. Like it's like my goals basically went from I hit the 2000 total. The next goal is 1,000 kilograms, 2204, and then my mentality was as long as I keep improving and keep getting better, eventually that number will come. And so like as far as having a set number, I don't know because I feel like I still got quite a few years left in the tank. Like at 39 with no injuries, I think I'm doing pretty good, and I don't have any end all be all number. Obviously, like the next big number I'd want to hit for like a squat would be like 400 kilograms, just because even number flat number sounds good. It's like 881. I still feel like I'm a ways away from that. Uh, bench press, the next big number I think for me would be like a 600-pound bench press, but my bench press has been right around like the 550, 565 range for like 2 or 3 years now. So like or maybe just 2 years, something like that or whatever. But the next big one there would be 600 pounds. Deadlift, I thought I wouldn't have a chance to pull 800 ever in my life. And then at the meet where I totaled 1,000 kilograms after my second deadlift, I went to Dez. I asked him, I said, so what number do I need to hit 1,000 kilograms? And he said, 810. I said, well, fuck it, loaded. I ain't got nothing to lose anyway. So pulled it and it looked really good or whatever. So I I'd love to tell you I got some number, but I feel like at this stage, I want to hit big squats, hit a big bench, and then if I'm at a nationals, pull whatever I need to win. And then if there's no shot at that, pull whatever I need to PR. That's I'd love to sit here and tell you like all-time world record total is the goal and things like that. I'm still a ways away from that, and I got a lot of steps to hit before I get there. So, like, yeah, as far as an overall goal for powerlifting, do it as long as I can, as long as I can keep getting stronger and keep getting better. That's kind of where my focus is.
And there's a saying in equip powerlifting. I forget who coined the saying, but it's squat as much as you can, bench as much as you can, and deadlift whatever you have to. Like,
Yeah.
because that's always how I look at it too. Because like I'm a bench press nationalist. I love the bench press. It is absolutely my favorite. I don't like to squat or deadlift. I still do them. I still compete in full power, but I don't know why. I don't like it. Like I just want to get stronger. So also with the trigger warning stuff in the West Side influence, are you doing any like modalities with the squat or the bench where you're doing like box squats or board presses, block pulls, things like that? Are you modifying the three movements as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like that's kind of a big thing that's helped keep me injury free. So like walking around at like 360, I'm still wrestling. My knees feel good, and I think the reason why is because I've used box squats a lot, and it's not always like a traditional West Side box squat because I don't squat super wide. I squat pretty narrow, so it's more often than not I'd call it squatting to a box, and I will pause on it, but I don't release my hips quite like a West Side guy would or a wide stance squatter would, things like that. So for like a typical squat day for me, the first movement I do is it's box squats with bands or chains, and it's the 50%, 55%, or 60% bar weight. I don't know the chains. I've never weighed the chains. I got them uh, from when we ordered a bunch of chains for the crusher at work. I ordered extra chains to take home to use this. I never weighed them or whatever. I cut them to whatever length they are, and I have my leader chain that on squats, it's set where it's supposed to be. For bench press, I just wrap it around the bar 3 times, and that puts it close to the right height. So, like, I'm not super anal about what my chain weight is or whatever. Just from what I use and what I do, I just write down in my book whether it's 2 chains or 3 chains. It's basically all the 2 chain variations I'll do is 2 or 3 chains. Bands, whatever they are on my squat rack, I had to drill my own band peg holes and make my own pegs or whatever. So it's whatever those are, whatever the band tension is. I don't know what it is. I just keep the bar weight at the same or whatever. So on a squat day, I'll do, instead of doing like the 12 doubles or the 8 triples and things like that, I do 8 doubles. And the reason why is it's a speed weight or a speed type of workout. I do the 8 doubles because I'm going to switch. My second movement is going to be some type of squat movement. That's going to be, lately it's been a lot of SS yoke bar squats, and those will be like a free squat with no box or whatever like that. And those are more of a building exercise. So like to stick with the trigger warning stuff, I do week 1, week 2, the 8 sets of 2. Then on week 3, I'll do a couple of doubles at the 60% bar weight. Then I jump up a couple times, try to hit a 5-pound PR, whatever variation I'm using. And then week 4 is all out full squat, like a full free weight squat. Uh, I don't do it like uh, Anthony says, like, it's like if you're raw, you do like a bare knee double and then a sleeve double on week 8, and then uh, a bare single on week 12, and then a full sleeve squat single on week 16 or whatever. I don't do that because the way I do it is I'll buy a new pair of knee sleeves for the meet, and then those knee sleeves become my training knee sleeves. So just they're all split up and gross and everything else. Like they're not like a full brand new stiff pair of knee sleeves or whatever. So uh, then for like on bench presses and stuff like that, I have different variations I use for on my heavy day, whether it be a triple, double, or single, whatever I have written down, I try to PR that or whatever. I usually stick to my different movements until they stagnate. I don't get anything. I've been on a pretty good run here for like 8 months now, where all my variations for all my main movements have all stayed the same because I keep getting stronger with them, and I feel good. I feel better. Uh, so I don't want to switch those up. Deadlift, I basically follow what how the trigger warning program set up. So like week 1, I'll do a block pull not a block pull. I'll do a deficit pull where I'm standing on a block. Week 2 is from the floor with some kind of accommodation. Week 3 is like speed deadlifts. That way I'm fresh for the week 4 squat. And then week 4 deadlift, I'll do a full competition style deadlift with free weights.
Okay. And with the if Anthony's listening to this, his head might explode from this next question. But for GPP, Roman will endorse this 100%. But for GPP, are you doing any like conditioning, any cardio, whether it's like steady state intervals? Like I know Roman's out of his mind, so he's on the bike. Are you doing any of that, or is it like you're getting it from once a month from the in ring, and you kind of stay fit at your job, went out around the farm, so you're kind of getting enough GPP? Or are you adding in cardio?
My GPP is just high enough to keep getting good at powerlifting and to make it through a wrestling match. I haven't really had much time to do any outside conditioning, but like an example was like last week. So I rented a big man lift and I cut down a bunch of trees. I trimmed a bunch of trees down and shit like that on my property. Like that was 3 days of working all fucking day outside. I don't need to go do walk on the treadmill or do anything like that. So I really I keep busy enough and I do enough physical work and stuff like that where I don't feel like I need to do specific GPP uh, outside of training. So like with training, I don't do. They're not. I stole it from Wenning. Obviously, they're not the Wenning warm ups the way he prescribes them, but I do like a 3 lift circuit before every lift or whatever, before every training session. That I try to do fast and I try to get my heart rate up, get to breathing a little heavy. But I'm basically in just the right, I think just about the perfect shape to do powerlifting at the level I'm doing it and to the wrestle at the level I'm doing it right now too. So I haven't had to do anything outside. I've been kind of playing around with it, uh, playing around with the idea of starting some, but I'm not in a spot. I don't want to start doing something now because I'm like 7 weeks out from nationals. So I'm not adding anything extra in at all. If anything, I'm going to try to take something out to make sure I recover better as the weights get heavier getting into nationals. So every time I get it in my head that I need to start doing something like that, it's always like, well, shit, I'm a month out from a meet. I'm not going to start doing it now. And then meet's over and I forget I thought about it for a little bit, so I don't do it.
So I mean, you're a busy dude, man. You wear a lot of hats, man. So with that being said, where did you establish this just hellacious tenacity and this work ethic? I mean, dude, doing everything that you do all while being a father, like being at the top of the list, the top priority. How do you maintain the dedication that it takes to compete at such a high level and wrestle and be a dad? Was that something that was kind of instilled from you, that you saw from maybe your dad set an example, your grandfather set an example of just like hard blue collar worker? Like, where does this come from, this like work ethic that you have?
My dad would be a bad example, but it's like with my stepdad, like it started with him basically, I would say, because him and my mom, I believe they started dating when I was around 5 or 6 years old, and then that's when he was at the feedlot and shit like that, and he was working his dick in the dirt for not any money, and it's just what you did, and his dad was, like, the manager of that feedlot, and they had a house on the property that's where they lived, and that's where he grew up. So, like, you're 14 years old, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you got a potload of cattle that just showed up. You're getting up and you're going out and you're unloading the cows. It's just this is the way it is. And so it's turned into like this mentality I have where I always think, well, what the fuck else am I gonna do? Am I just gonna sit around and be a big piece of shit and not go out and do work, or I'm not gonna work hard? Like, if I'm there, what am I gonna do? Just be a piece of shit and sit there and watch other people work hard? Or if I'm there, I might as well work hard. And then it's I don't feel like if you're someone that's like never done let's just say like a manual labor job, for example, and you go straight from the couch to this manual labor job, it takes time to get used to doing that fucking work. And I think I've just been doing that work and that type of work my whole life. It just kind of my mentality is, what the fuck else am I gonna do? Am I gonna not lift? I love lifting. Lifting is one of my favorite things in the world to do. So am I not gonna lift? No, I'm gonna fucking lift. I'm gonna find a way to make the time to do it without taking away from people that don't deserve to have the time with me taken away, like my kids and my wife. And as far as like the work, I was born in 1986, and I'm right at that generation where you don't quit something if you have something good, and it's been to my detriment lately. But for a long time, it's you're there, work hard while you're there, earn your pay, earn your money. That just kind of I think it's just where it's always been that way for me. My grandfather's the same way with the cattle and things, all the stuff that he did. Just when you don't have anything handed to you or you don't have nothing given to you, the one thing you can do is work for it or work towards it or work at whatever you're doing. Is that just kind of what I've always done? I don't know if there's ever been like a specific thing that's, ingrained it in my head that I have to do this. Just what the fuck else am I gonna do, man? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. And it's kind of like a generational thing, like you said, the time you were born and like just the way that the societal contract kind of was at the time, and the way people carried themselves was a lot different as opposed to now, especially with like the influx of social media, fucking influencers and stuff. And it's a lot of different, like just the day-to-day psychology of people is much different now, to where like a lot of people, they would have a child and say, well, that's it. I can't do this now. I'm done with this. I'm done with that. I worked overtime today. I'm not going to live today. I'm done with this, done with that, which like, if you're looking for reasons not to do something, that's what you'll find, right? Like 100% of the time, if you're looking for an excuse, you'll find it. But if you're someone that's wired to look for a reason to accomplish something or to do something, you'll find it there too. So it's like, what excuse does someone have when you have someone like yourself who's waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, going in this fucking 24-degree barn here and fucking working out? No one's putting a gun to your head. This is not putting fucking food on the table. You're choosing voluntarily to suffer, but that voluntary suffering is building your character. And I feel like that's missing from a lot of people nowadays. But I see that as a common trait in the people that I've talked to on this podcast. Someone that I was fortunate enough to talk to, Luke Edwards, obviously. I mean, literally personification of just like mental fortitude. Like that guy, every time I think about being a bitch, I think about my discussion with Luke Edwards, and I'm just like, how am I gonna, what fucking excuse do I have? This guy was in fucking stage 15 fucking kidney failure, and he's training at fucking Westside. Like, what fucking excuse do I have? Like, I'm just being a bitch. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I always admire that, like, the blue collar mindset is always undefeated. Always undefeated, man. But with that being said, kind of a weird question that I had. It's a weird question, but like, I don't have much experience being on farms, right? I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, which is like 30 minutes outside Seattle. So like city, stuff like that. So, but you see, you see in movies like Signs and stuff, there's like weird stuff happening at farms, man, like in crop circles and stuff. And like, so with all that acreage and all that property, have you ever encountered anything like weird? Like it's 3 a.m, something goes bang, you go outside, it's like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say alien encounter, but like something weird that has happened on the farm, dude. Is there anything like that going on out there?
Well, I don't want to destroy the magic for you, but you said it. You already said it. If you're looking for an excuse not to do something, you'll find it. If you're looking for a reason to do something, you'll find it. So if you hear a loud bang around here, especially if you're looking for an alien or you're looking for some kind of strange encounter of the third kind, you'll find it out here. Out here on the one side of the property is a bunch of trees growed up real bad, and it's been a battle ever since we moved on here 8 years ago, where I could cut down a tree every day, and I probably wouldn't be done till next year if I cut down one tree every day. They're just everywhere. It's overgrown. It's terrible. And there's 2 creeks that run through the property, and so that brings all kinds of wildlife. Our house and our property is like a raccoon and a woodchuck haven. I've even had just a couple months ago in the feed room. The way we got to bring feed and we buy cracked corn from a friend of ours, and then we just unload it into barrels and then put it in the feed room. We got to have shit stacked on top of it so the raccoons and shit don't get into it. But one of the barrels, I go in there and the top's knocked off it, and I look in there and the feed was down, it was pretty empty or whatever, and down in the bottom of that was a weasel. Like, or not a weasel, it was a mink. This one was like a little silver mink. I was like, when I first dipped over to that barrel and that head popped up and looked at me, I didn't know what the fuck. I'd never seen a mink in person before. It's like, what the fuck is that? It's the same deal. The raccoons out back will make some weird fucking noises. They start getting a fighting and shit like that. And every year or two, there's a fox that comes through and it'll kill all the bunnies on the property. And then it's like that fox you'll think you hear something and you don't hear nothing, and that fucker comes out of the silence, comes out of the dark or whatever, will run past you, scares the shit out of you. You know, fox running at dark time, like in the dark, and you shine your spotlight on it, and you barely catch a glimpse of it. You don't know what the fuck that was the first couple times you see it. But like I said, if you start looking and investigating shit and start paying attention, you notice, oh, it was just a fox, but you don't know what the fuck it was at the time. So, like possums, skunks, all that kind of shit out here, and everything that happens out here with the wild animal is just spaced out enough that it's like a new experience, and you forget in the moment that, like, oh, it's just this. At the moment, like, no, what in the fuck is, like, you got your gun and your spotlight, you have no idea, you're ready to go to war over this whole thing, you have no idea what it is. So like that's a big one. My wife is more, she like she's more of the one that grew up with more of the sci-fi fantasy type stuff or whatever like that. So like it's mostly me trying to calm her down out here. Like month or so ago, like she opens the front door to let the dogs outside or whatever, goes, what's this light out here? There's like it's a really bright light. I don't know what it is. I've never seen it before. And so I go out there and look and go, well shit, I've never seen it before too. It's kind of far off in the distance or whatever. I'm like, well, I don't think I'm gonna go out there and look at it and go, you better find out what it is. I don't know, someone out in the field over there is stuck or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So that she gets me thinking that, well, what the fucking a UFO land out in the fucking grass pad across the way there? I mean, it's like, beginning part of April or whatever. I'm like, God, I don't know what the hell that could be. Well, I start walking over there, I walk across the road or whatever, then I can hear it. There's a grass pad across the deal that sells sod farm or whatever. They had their pivot going, and it was a light on the end of the fucking pivot. So I got closer and I heard the pivot going, like, I mean, it's pitch black out. Oh, that's all. So then I had to go in there and tell her, like, it was just the pivot across the street, honey. It'll be okay. But yeah, it's never a dull moment out here. When we first moved in, I got an old corn crib that it was all set up like in the 50s. This property was a pretty high class, high dollar dairy farm and hog farrow to finish farm. And so like the corn crib is actually a really, really fancy high tech for the 50s corn crib. And so it's got like the building, and then it's got like, it looks like a moat around it with concrete or whatever. But they'd set stuff in there, and then you open the side door of the corn crib, the corn falls out onto a conveyor, and that's how they get it off to go feed it, or they conveyor it in to store it in the corn crib and stuff like that. Well, like woodchucks have found a corner underneath this corn crib under there. And so it was like my first experience at like tracking and like trapping things. And so like that was my introduction to like actual real farm life out here on it, like living on it every day. My grandpa's always lived out here my whole life, or whatever. But like I didn't live out here every day and have to worry about woodchucks getting under the fucking corn crib. And so like, it was all new to us or whatever. I'd set a couple of traps. I'd caught two of the woodchucks. It ended up being a whole woodchuck family of 5. I ended up catching them all or whatever. But me and my wife were both down there feeding the cows, and she's petting the horse and things like that. Blah, blah. She's like, where's that trap at? And I told her where it was. She goes, I'm going to go check it. Okay, I didn't think nothing of it. Well, there's the woodchuck in it, and she lost her fucking mind and come back bawling and crying. The poor girl, she's got a real tender heart sometimes, especially for little furry, cuddly animals like a woodchuck, and she was very upset. And so she doesn't check traps no more.
Yeah.
So for a while there, it's a big adjustment for her, because she's lived in Omaha her whole life. That's the big city in Nebraska. So this is all 100% new to her. So it's been a bigger adjustment for her than it is for me. So
Yeah.
Like I said, if you want to find a UFO out here, I'm sure you can convince yourself there's something out here that's a UFO, but
dude,
I haven't found one yet.
some men in black come knocking at your door, dude. You never know, dude. You're like a new Roswell out there with all that property. But one question that I used to ask people that I got away from, but I received a lot of positive feedback on it, was, if you could train with one person, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh boy. I'd like to say Ed Cohn, but I did a seminar. Dave Tate and Ed Cohn came to Omaha Barbell, and so I've done a seminar. So technically, I've trained with Ed Cohn once. Honestly, I don't know if you've ever seen them. I'm sure you have. They used to do those training montages at the gym in in Minnesota for the Road Warriors, and they'd send that shit to Japan before they'd go to Japan and wrestle or whatever. So like if I could catch a training session with like Prime, AWA, Hawk and Animal, I think that would be who I'd want to train with the most. Like, them guys doing barbell shrugs like 900 pounds and 1,000 pounds and shit like that in the power rack. I think it'd be really neat to hang out with Hawk and Animal for a training session and just I would, as a fan, I would just want to be around those guys, period. But like if I could train with them, I think that'd probably be top for me as Hawk and Animal Road
Yeah.
Warriors.
Yeah, dude. You want to talk about high energy, bro. It doesn't get much higher than that, dude. But what
Yeah,
was that? You said seminar with Dave Tate and Ed Cohen. So what was that like, man? Dave Tate, Ed Cohen, both fucking legends. What was that like? Must have been pretty cool.
it was real cool. Since I'd never been inside Omaha Barbell before then. It's like that's if you ask me, I guess I don't have that good of an opinion because I haven't been in any gyms in Omaha, but like that's a really good powerlifting gym. I know a lot of guys that train out of there. They got every piece of equipment you could ever want, I would think, and it was a pretty big seminar. There's a lot of people there. And so since I didn't really know anybody, I was kind of off. They got the one main area with all the monoliths and shit like that, the platforms. And then like there's a group of us over off in the rack or whatever. So like we weren't in the mix with everyone. So uh like the biggest takeaway I think from that was like they had a gal that was deadlifting and they fixed her technique and she hit a PR that day or whatever, blah blah. So like that was the coolest thing as far as the lifting stuff and the actual technique and training and shit, learning from them. Uh the best part about that was at the end we all sat down and we got a Q&A with them. I think that's where if you know how to lift, generally speaking, you know how to do the lifts or whatever, you're gonna catch one or two things from them in the training part of it, and like them actually critiquing your form and stuff, and actually going through the lifts. That will help you, yes. But like, it's for me the mentality and the funny stories and how they go about things, what they're thinking when they do stuff at the end, the Q&A, that's where the magic is in those seminars. So like that was, I think, the best thing about that seminar. And then taking the picture afterwards and Ed Cohn, I had a mohawk that was grown out at the time. Ed Cohn calling it a mullet and then grabbing it during the picture, whatever. That was my favorite part of it. But yeah, it was a great thing. Omaha Barbell's great, and that was a great seminar.
Dude, that's awesome. And speaking of Omaha Barbell and kind of like the gym atmosphere and stuff like that, you have a new business venture. The personal
Yeah.
training business venture. So open up about that. What made you kind of go that route and open this, and what is this in totality? Like how can people take advantage of the services that you offer now?
So, like I said earlier, I had like 17 years at this company. I finally had enough. I had finally had the final straw and I quit. And since so when I was a supervisor before, like I was with the company through all these growing stages or whatever. And so like when I became a supervisor, it's like right when they first started doing like offering a 401k and they do a 401k matching. And so I only had a couple years of doing the 401k matching with them. When I quit the first time, and I just cashed it out to buy the property. Like it coincided right when my grandpa got sick or whatever, and they needed to sell the place, so I cashed out the 401k then, used that as a down payment on the property, uh, and so then this time I only had another 2 or 3 years of the 401k matching, not at supervisor pay, so there wasn't as much money in there. So I talked to my wife, and she knew how miserable I was, and we'd come up with well, if I quit and cash out a little bit of the 401k, I'll have like 3 or 4 months to be able to do projects around here and get caught up with all the shit I couldn't do because I was working before. And then, the money in the 401k would be enough to float me for 3 months or so. And then I just assumed like I got 20 years experience in the heavy equipment field or the construction field. I could find a job anywhere, especially in the middle of summer. Someone's always looking for help, right? So I wasn't worried about that. So just gonna kind of chill and take it easy and do projects around here or whatever and save as much money as I possibly could doing that. And then my mom works at a convenience store in Waterloo, Nebraska, which is where the guy that trained me for my first two powerlifting meets in high school, he's got a little private studio there, like a private training facility there. Uh, his wife went into the convenience store and was talking to my mom or whatever. And they got to talking like some women can do, and they just come, well, I think Nate would be a great person to have start training out of there. But then next thing you know, like Mark Shalene, he shot me a text about training people. Like, well, I had no plans to do this out whatsoever. And he dropped that text to me. I was like, well, I guess now I'm going to start a personal training business. So I've been kind of doing that while trying to shove like 2 months of work I had planned out into as short as time as I can, which is why I rented a man lift last week and blah, blah, and all this other shit. I still got to build a new chicken run and blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to do this all simultaneously all at the same time. And so that's how that came about. It's happenstance that my mom ran into Mark Shalene's wife at the convenience store on the right day. They got to talking. Shalene sent me a text, and now I paid my first month's rent and I got a key to the place. And now I'm just looking to get that first client still because I haven't really had the time to like push it out there that I'm just trying to start this up. So like basically what it'll be is personal one-on-one training inside of a private facility in Waterloo, Nebraska. So if you're local, hit me up. We can get you started, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, so I'm still right in the middle of trying to get all of that figured out. It's been a whole lot. Like I got the actual, like the tax ID number and all that bullshit like that to actually start a business and things like that. I'm just now diving into it, just now getting into it. Like it's all way brand new shit for me. I might have said offhand to Nick or to my buddy Rob. Nick's my brother. Might have said offhand to my brother Nick or Rob, like, it'd be cool to have a setup like Mark Shalene's. That'd be like the dream or whatever. And then it kind of fell into my lap, and I'm kind of trying to fucking spinning my tires trying to figure out how to get it started and get it off the ground right now. So that's kind of basically where I am with that.
And are you going to be hybrid personal training in person and then like online coaching for powerlifting as well? Or is it mainly just the in-person personal training right now?
It's just the in-person right now. I've never, I don't want to say I've never had an interest in doing like an online powerlifting training, like doing programs and things like that for people. I've always thought that like I don't have my own training program. Like I run trigger warning. So like if I were to take on clients and then send them a template that looks just like trigger warning and not, and if Anthony doesn't know anything about it, who the fuck, I'm basically stealing from him to train
Yeah.
people. So I've never even thought or put out an idea of doing an online training type of thing. So like
Yeah.
mainly it's going to be in-person thing. And I feel like as I get started here, it'll mostly be non-power lifters that I'll be training anyway.
Yep.
So like, I'm not saying no. Like learning wrestling, you never say never. So I'm not saying I'll never do any type of online coaching. I'm just not in a position to dedicate any time to that right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll be mainly personal one-on-one training in a private facility, like I said, in Waterloo, Nebraska.
Yeah. And that's the best, man. I was a personal trainer in 2020 or 2021 because it was like when everyone got the fucking sniffles and we decided to overreact and shut everything down. During that time, I got laid off, especially in this fucking communist state. I got laid off. And so I went to go be a personal trainer. And I was a trainer for probably about like 3 or 4 months, something like that. But I'm not now. Now I work in a laboratory. I'm a chemical lab tech now. But I will say, out of every job that I've had, personal training by far was the most rewarding. And I did not feel like I was working at all. Like the only part that sucked is it just like at the time I needed money and I just wasn't making enough, not getting enough clients. And I worked for Crunch. So they were taking a large amount, right? And it wasn't a private facility, but just like, dude, the reward that you get from helping somebody and like seeing them in real time, like learn their body mechanics, learn these movements, like dude, there's nothing more rewarding than that. Or like watching someone get stronger, dude, it's just, I mean, yeah, personal training, in my opinion, is by far like the most rewarding venture that I've had and that like a lot of people do have, I think.
Yeah, so like that's mainly what gets me excited about doing it is getting to help people through weight training. Weight, like I said, I've been lifting weights my whole life. I mean, it's kind of been the most common theme I've had throughout my entire life. And then like be able to either pass on any knowledge I got to someone to help them get better with weight training or just maybe fall in love, catch the iron bug, like everyone likes to say. Things like that's mainly what I'm looking forward to the most. And like Mark Chalene, he's the dude, man. Mark Chalene, great guy. The way we all met, and so he's had this shop in Waterloo for like 20, maybe 30 years now, maybe 40 years. It's been a long time. He's been training people for a long, long time. Might be 40 years. I'm not sure. But so like in high school, the the school itself wouldn't like recognize powerlifting as a sport. And so we all like all the guys when they did it, like I said, they did the one meet my sophomore year without me. They all went to Schlien on their own and then paid him to train them. And then they went to the meet on their own without any affiliation with the high school. And so that's kind of how we met him. And then me and him have been friends ever since then. We've done a couple, like, lifted at the same meets a couple times together. He's that dude, and like for him to text me and give me this opportunity means the world to me. And so besides wanting to be successful and help people and train people and make a little money, it's not letting him down and like carrying on his legacy because he is a legend in this little town, in this little shop. He's a legend. I mean, Nebraska football player. He is that dude. And so I'm very grateful, very thankful to him to have the opportunity to start trying to do this training thing on my own.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, local legends are the fucking best, man. And one of the last questions I had here, I'm always curious about this. You've competed in the USAPL for a long time. Now, some people base their choosing their federation based on like, look, I'm gonna run PEDs, so I'm going over here, right? I'm going to ABS or I'm going to the USPA untested, whatever route I'm gonna go. Some people are like, I'm drug free. I'm gonna go to the IPF. I'm gonna go to the USAPL route. Now, was this a choice based on the drug testing, or was it more a choice based on just like, this is what we have around here, so this is what I'm gonna do?
It's a combination of a couple things. Lifetime drug free, never been on any PEDs of any type, unless you count creatine, which I don't think we can count creatine as PEDs. So I've been drug free my whole life, been natty my whole life, and then I've always heard on all the podcasts, articles you read, things like that, people saying, posts on social media stuff is like, you always want to support the meet directors you like. It just so happens that Katie Dodge, she runs the USAPL. She might still be the state chair for the USAPL in Nebraska. I can't remember. She runs the USAPL meets, and she's always run my favorite meet, so I always want to support her. Then, like I said, I was doing a couple like the Cornhusker State games and stuff like that locally. Those were USAPL affiliated, and then that's when I started realizing that I might be competitive at the national level for the USAPL. Then now I'm just a USAPL guy now. Then I like the way they drug test. I think they do a great job of the drug testing, and USAPL is just that's what Katie Dodge runs locally. So if I'm going to do a local meet, it's going to be a Katie Dodge meet. And then if I go nationals, it'll be Raw National. Raw Nationals is a lot of fun. So I got no complaints to the USAPL, and that's basically what led to my decision. I'm not going to say that I'm like federation loyal, but I don't have any complaints. I don't feel like USAPL has done me personally wrong, so I'll just stick with the USAPL probably forever.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always say that too,
Lay
like,
down,
definitely,
Lay down.
Supporting the
Lay
meet
down.
directors that are worth supporting, the good people, the good men and women that run good meets and just do great things for the sport. It's one of the reasons why I choose the USPA tested side up here, is because Ryan Tragano up here in Bremerton runs excellent meets. He's an excellent human being. I've known him for like 10 years, him and his wife both. And so I'm like, dude, if I'm going to give my money anywhere, it's like, I want to support this. Like, I want to support good people. But yeah, wrapping up here, man, tell the people where they can find you, follow along with your journey, any social media that they can check you out, dude.
So yeah, Nate Redwing on Instagram, I think, is my Instagram handle. I have a Facebook page. The only reason why I still have Facebook is because, like, I don't know, I got like 2,500 people that I'm friends with on there, and that's where most of the wrestling social media promotion is gone. So I've always kept it just for that. And now with the personal training thing, that'll be a great asset to have and be able to get my stuff out with the personal training out like that. I started an Instagram for Redwing's personal training. I tried to start a Facebook page for that, but Facebook doesn't believe that I am a human. So they told me they told me that they would send in my to Redwing's personal training account for appeal. I got an email back like a couple hours later that said, "Well, you failed your appeal. We don't believe you're a real person, so you'll never be able to use Redwing's personal training for a Facebook
Sick.
page." I know, I was so excited about it, and so like my sister-in-law told my wife that like, well, everything I've read about this, you got to talk to someone in person at Facebook. So I got to try to find a Facebook human to talk to prove that I am an actual human. So, but yeah, social media, I mainly use Instagram, Nate Redwing on Instagram. It's pretty much all I use. So
Right on,
you
dude.
find me there. Yeah.
Dude. Well, episode 28, man. Thank you so much for joining me, dude. I highly appreciate it. Everybody go follow Nate and be sure to send him a message. And if you're in Nebraska, go watch him wrestle. He posts his bookings on Instagram and Facebook. Check him out. Thanks, man.
Yep. Thanks for having me, dude. Had a lot of fun. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, bro. All right, man. All right, so episode 28 has concluded. I just wanted to thank everyone that has listened to the podcast, checked it out, shared it, gave it a like, subscribed, or followed on Spotify. You guys are awesome, dude. I appreciate that so much from the bottom of my heart. If you want to, visit www.rainierstrengthsystems.com. You can find articles there, you can find clothing, and all kinds of stuff to support me. I really just like... I can't properly articulate how much I truly appreciate everyone that has checked this out and continues to just shoot me DMs and support me. I mean, it's so sick, and I truly am just like beyond grateful. So you guys are the best. Thank you so much. You are the reason I do this, and without you, there would be no Rainier Strength. You are just as much a part of this as I am. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you.